As a Christian, should I practice yoga? Well, at least for me, I would say no. And as well as for me, I don't practice it. I don't approve of it. I don't endorse it. I don't all of the above in terms of recommending it. I don't do it. Why? Well, because I understand the meaning behind it. When we think about the word yoga, it's a popular term, at least in the Western culture or the Western world. But the meaning of it means to be in union, to yoke, okay? One's mind with the universe. So this is where a person can experience a higher consciousness, okay? By just really focusing, by allowing yourself to be one with the universe so you can experience an enlightenment, okay? Because there are things right now that you cannot understand, but by putting yourself in a certain position, allowing your mind to just really expand and being in this environment where you're just able to see in different realms, okay? This is where you get that real information, okay? You have to go beyond where you're at right now. You have to go beyond that and you have to attain a higher consciousness. And to me, that's a no-no, because I know that that has nothing to do with the word of God or God himself, because when we think about the universe, God created everything. Now, a person may argue and say, well, God created evil. No, didn't create evil, okay? And that's another topic, but there's one thing about God, he is perfect, okay? For some people, it's hard to really comprehend that because you're sinful and you realize you can't deal with the perfect God. But then we also deal with this topic of yoga, realizing that that is sinful, not realizing that a perfect God does not like practices which we invite, which this actually originated in India, and it has origins when it comes to Hinduism, Buddhism, and both of which, if you go a little deeper, have what is known as the Brahmin. And this is one of the highest priestly or priesthood orders. And when you look at the word Brahmin, this relates to a calf, okay? This is a sacred calf that is essentially worshiped. So when you go back all through the yoga, the history, and you pull back the pages, you start to realize that a lot of these things are actually pagan, but they also contradict the word of God. And at least in Exodus chapter 20, God talks about not worshiping any other gods besides him, not making anything in an image, whether it is in the heavens, in the earth, or even in the earth below or the waters or under the waters, not making any type of images. Why? Because God is a jealous God, does not want anyone to make anything in his place, because at the end of the day, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God, not yoga, not a Brahmin, not any other type of yogi or anyone else, but it was God. And what has happened is many people will try to justify yoga, not realizing that, when you're in certain poses, even if you say, well, let's not focus on the spiritual, okay? We realize that stuff. These Christians, but let's just focus on the fitness, the exercise part. But that's a problem, because when you start to do the stretches and the exercises, what are you really doing? You're essentially worshiping false gods. You're worshiping false deities, okay? When you're in certain stretches, you are contorting your body. This is not not much different than what you see when it comes to dancing. Go back and look at different tribes or different cultures when they dance and when they're doing rituals. You will start to see some similarities in terms of how the body contorts itself, how it bends, and all of the similar aspects when it comes to moving your body, allowing your body to be fashioned in a certain way, and how that relates to the worship of a god or even the ancestors. This gets into essentially witchcraft. It gets into a demonic realm that can really infiltrate your life. And so my question is, why would you try to defend something that you would don't clearly don't care to, look into? Because I've seen the arguments, and to me, it's astonishing that we have so much information at our hands, but yet we were willing to just defend something that, again, God has called us not to do. And I think, from one aspect, it can be because people just don't really trust the word of God. You may not say that, but as a Christian, you really don't. And that's a problem, because God calls us, at least in the New Testament, Romans 1, and other books, where it calls us to not be deceived. Because when you are deceived, when you are trying to defend this topic, again, that has had some deep roots, and I'm telling you about some of these, when you think about the asana, you think about, Diana, the different types of layers of yoga that may be harmless or don't have any type of, it don't seem like they are bad to begin with. But when you really start to dig, you really find out like, oh, this is anti-Christ, because it has nothing to do with God's will. And so again, that is just what I share with you. There's also testimonials about people who did yoga, giving their own testimonials about it, and saying entirely that it really does not matter if you try to disconnect from the spiritual. Doing it at all is still wrong. And so to me, that is where I stand. If you decide to practice it, that's on you. I have no associations. You heard it clearly from me. I do not practice it. I do not endorse it. Do not even recommend it to any of my clients. I strongly will recommend against it. However, I can't make anyone do anything. But again, that is my stance. That is the information that I have to share with you. And if you do have any feedback or just even any questions, feel free to share them. I want us to all be educated when it comes to this topic. And so feel free to share your question. Would love to help you out with that, answer that for you. And I'll just leave you with that.